Previous cycles here with an update on markets outside the US. I do these once in a while, and let's have a look at the German DAX, the Indian NIFTY, Bitcoin, and the Norwegian OBX. So beginning with the German DAX, we have the 3.5-year cycle here in red. And we are at the 3.5-year cycle top. Earlier I suggested that we were in this topping interval starting around New Year and going into June, and indeed we are seeing some volatile topping behavior, but we are making all-time highs. But the cycle is turning down soon. Around end of June it begins to get bearish, and we are in this rising trend channel. So yeah, could be still a couple of weeks with some kind of a topping formation here before we should roll over. And I haven't analyzed the shorter cycles, the wavelets, or anything, but just from my visual inspection here, yeah, I would expect this to roll over the next couple of weeks and then start breaking down. That's quite primitive analysis, but we also have like the 57-week cycle I've shown earlier, and that one is topping out right now and going down into the fall. And that cycle often is helpful in bear markets. Next one is the Indian NIFTY. Again, I'm looking at the 3.5-year cycle in red, and the Indian market topped out early, looks like a bearish left translation. However, after a long downtrend, we are seeing a nice rebound here, and the cycle, well, we are indeed following the cycle quite well. So the rebound started about where the cycle turns out to the final top, and there's still a couple of weeks here where we could try to make some kind of a double top here, or will it just be a lower shoulder, and then the cycle gets more bearish late in the summer and the fall. So yeah, we have to see how far this bounce goes, but yeah, I wouldn't trust this to go to all-time highs. This could turn down at any moment. We have the Bitcoin again, the 3.5-year cycle I've shown down here, and I marked some zones. Is it bullish, bearish, or neutral? And we are in the bearish zone here. We are making a big double top in the Bitcoin, where we have some where that has happened before, like the previous cycle. We also made a double top at this point in the cycle, but here we should complete this double top formation going down to the neckline and then break this longer trend line. That would be my expectation without analyzing this more in detail, but this could still go on for weeks before we finally break this trend line. Finally, we have the Norwegian market. It is very dependent on oil and energy prices, and we see once again the 3.5-year cycle here in blue. It has topped out, but that is very little useful. Market can continue far into this sideways phase. It's really at this point that well, not always, but at this point in the cycle that it gets really bearish. But the cycle here is not very helpful. It is just saying be cautious from here on. At any moment here, sometime, we should top out, and then we should look for a low. So I have other tools helping me, when I get into this caution zone, start looking for a top. I have projections based on historical analogs, making averages and so on. So here in green I'm measuring from the wavelet low, and I have an average scenario here in black, and we see we are, I should mention this is 2-week data, every two weeks. Every data point is 2 weeks apart. Also I've shown some analogs here, just to show how volatile this topping formation can be. Like here around 1990 we had these 10% corrections making a big volatile topping formation. Or here in blue we have 2008, it crashed down about 20% in January, and then we went all the way up in May, making an all-time high in May, and then it collapsed later in the year. Also I have the previous bull market here in orange. So all of these are topping around this same interval, and it could be still a little bit ahead, into early June, before this rolls over. Could be at any moment, but yeah. And then I have another one that should be with well, this is measuring right now. This was going back a couple of years, starting the analog, finding the analogs at this point. But here I'm looking at the current situation, where the wavelets are suggesting we are topping out. So again here I have an average in red. That one still says, it could stretch this for another couple of weeks. And I have the previous bull market. Here we were in this volatile topping formation. The Russian-Ukraine war had just begun, and that was bullish for Norway because of the spiking oil prices. But yeah. So all of these markets I have shown you, they are all suggesting they should be close to a major top, the 3.5-year cycle top, and they all kind of point down into the fall. Like this average here in red, it has a low around year's end, and from this point it gets more uncertain, because that could be the low of a soft landing, and then we could begin a new cycle rallying for a couple of years. But this could also just be the beginning of a hard landing. That could mean a bounce around, year's end, early 2026, and then the downtrend continues in 2026. So it's too early to speculate about that part. But right now, like this average, it goes down to this point, which corresponds to late this year. And this previous bear market, that was it, and then we rallied. But this average is warning, it could be something else too. We could drop down to year's end and go, try to rally in the winter, but then it fails, and then we go further down in 2026. Only speculations, but again, my conclusion from these markets is I would look for a top in the next coming weeks, a major top, and then the downtrend from the 3.5-year cycle should begin in all of these markets, and the same thing should go for the American markets, for the S&P. So in yesterday's video I was speculating, is this either a big double top, then we should crash down very soon, or could it sustain for a longer while? Then we should maybe look for a bigger ABC move. So we are approaching maybe the top of this first A move. We should have some kind of a consolidation in the summer and then continue up to early fall. And that could be the bull market top. But I think these other markets suggest it could be now in June. Bye bye.